All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to Comic Book Team Up with myself and John's Longbox. Tonight we are supposed to have Russ on from he did the Call to Conquer book, which we had him on a couple of months ago, and now he's 85 to 90% done of his next book, which is the Atlantean. But I was a little late in sending Russ the link for tonight, and I do believe he's in England, so he might have actually went to bed before he got my link, and he doesn't know that we're going to start. So I apologize for everybody if that is the case. We might have Russ on next week on John's channel if he doesn't show up tonight. The invite there is gone out to you, Russ. If you want to show up at any time, we'll do that. Otherwise, it's just going to be John and myself. There we go. Shadow Kingdom.
You know I had the comic.
I didn't get my copy yet, but I'm sure it's on the way.
I have yours. He said, don't give it.
So John and I were just talking last week when I did my Make Comics Fun Again. I did a couple of months of 1980s comics covers, looking through them from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. And John said, let's do that. So, you know, we might end up doing that tonight. If Russ does not end up showing up, and that won't be on Russ, that will be on me. But let's before we do anything else, John, just tell us exactly how your campaign is going first.
Okay, I will share my campaign. I have a Fund My Comic campaign, if you wouldn't mind bringing this up.
There we go.
Okay, so this is Fund My Comic. As you can see, I did pretty good. 217 backers, over 3,000. What's wrong with me? $6,000 on my campaign, and Nick Axe, who's in the chat right now, built this campaign page for me. I think so good. You know, there's Heroic Tales #1. I was just talking to Bill today. We're doing the final corrections on the lettering, and then it's pre-press, and then it's printing. So it's I said I was going to start shipping in October, and it looks like I'm going to hit that goal. This is the Michael T. Gilbert cover. This was formerly on Kickstarter, and I did pretty good on Kickstarter. I did over 1,000 on Kickstarter, another 60 backers, I think. And then when that's over, I'm rolling everything over to Fund My Comic. That's going to be my home. So this is still available right now. And but right now, if I'm going to take this down, and I'm going to show, I'm also on Indiegogo, and I put something exclusive on every site. If you could share this screen.
Just 1 second here. I'm
multitasking. I'm sorry.
Said I'm multitasking. So
I'm sorry.
Let's see. There we go.
I put an exclusive cover on every format. So you know what? Can you make it big, and I'll play the trailer. Look at this trailer.
Can do. Just give me 1 second.
Sure. I'm gonna make this big, and I'm gonna play this trailer. How cool is that?
Very nice. Very what would we say, retro, because of the
I don't mind retro. I'm trying to capture like a Bronze Age feel, you know, Marvel 80s, even though the music is more like the Incredibles, but I love the Incredibles. I think that's awesome. Hal Prometheus made that for me. He just sent it to me out of the blue.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the first backers for my comic. He's one of my first subscribers. You know, he just always has nice insights and comments. And then he actually wrote a letter, because I put a letters page in the comic. So he's one of 2 people to get a letter printed. If anybody wants a letter printed in Heroic Tales, right now it's crunch time. We're getting the files ready to publish. So right now I can always throw in another letter. But this I wanted to show. This was Mike Gustovich.
Yeah, that's a beautiful cover.
Look at that. Isn't that amazing? You know, I just loved it. To me, this is the most Bronze Age superhero of all the covers. You know, I'm not taking it away from anybody else because they all like the Renzo is just right now current superheroes, and the Michael T. Gilbert is like Silver Age 60s DC, which I also love. So, but this is exact like this I could see on the shelf right next to Chris Claremont, John Byrne's X-Men, right next to George Perez's Avengers. You know, I mean, this is awesome. But you know, it's on Indiegogo, and as I could show you, it's I only have like 6 backers. You know what I mean? So I really want to out of $500. You know what I mean? So I need a few more backers to make that cover happen. You know, so there we go. So little doom and gloom, guys. But what do you want me to say?
I was just noticing, John, it's funny when you pulled up the trailer, you had something else there in the background. It looks like you've been watching the AI generated movie trailers.
I got tricked into thinking it was a real thing.
Oh yeah.
And now, so I watched one. I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's AI. So, and now I got all my feeds. You click on one thing, and next thing you know, like AI Avengers movie, AI. And
yeah, there's a couple of fun ones like Thunder the Barbarian and all those kind of things.
I gotta say, I watched the which one did I just watch last night? Last night was the first time I watched it. I think it was Star Wars. No, stupid. It was Captain Marvel, but it was set like in the 50s.
In the 50s, yes.
The AI generated woman to play Carol Danvers was beautiful. I love that retro 40s. You know, like you have for what's your character's name? Phantasm.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that old retro look. You know, that 40s. I don't know. I could watch Hollywood Boulevard, and even the extras in the background, these women are beautiful. You know, and I love the way Nick X draws them, and Jim O'Reilly. They really draw them good. You know.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I just go to IMDb, and if I'm looking for a new character face, I go top actresses of the 1930s, right? And I just go through the list. They got lists of 100, 150 of them. Going, okay, that'll work.
That's interesting. Like, so again, I'm sure everybody who's watching your channel knows you, but I'm a writer. I can't draw to save my life. So do you send like a description? This character looks like this actor, or?
Oh yeah. Oh, for Renzo, definitely. And well, usually I start off with Renzo. Renzo does a lot of character sketches for me, and then Nick just takes him to another level when he does the posters. But yeah, I send him usually because like we'll say one of the characters within the Kid Fox story that we did for the the Valiant Heroes. She's patterned off of Grace Kelly from Rear Window, so I sent him a couple of stills from Rear Window. And
could you imagine Grace Kelly playing Susan Storm?
I could actually. That would actually work really well.
Yeah.
So that's Renzo took those and ran with them, and basically one of the characters, she's because Kid Fox is basically like a shadow character. He has a whole network of informants all around the city, and she's one of them that keeps on showing up. And she, you've read it, so
yeah.
And she's exactly patterned off.
You read these comics? I just buy them to fight the culture war, Renzo. I don't read them.
Well,
no, let's see. I read every comic. I'm a crazy person.
Glad to see you. Let's give a couple of shout outs to here. People that are here. Random is here. Zachdan is here. Warren the Archangel. Everybody's showing up week after week. I have to thank you, Vaz. And who else we got here? Gordon, good brother. So, Zachdan is asking about Cardinal. Cardinal was actually not based off of a 30s or 40s character. I took Cardinal. The inspiration for that character was a mash together of first of all Huntress from DC Comics, and then an anime character called I can't remember her name. She only appears like a couple of pages and a couple of scenes within an anime and the manga. It's called the Murder Princess. So I took those two things and I mashed them together, and so I figured that would be a good starting point. Oh, look, here we got another guest here. Russ is I think going to be absent tonight, so we got this fella here.
I just good brother says Ava Gardner as Circe. Oh my God, I never thought of it, but now I'm upset of what we will never have. Ava Gardner, seriously, that is awesome casting. Nick, do you ever do any fan casting?
I haven't for a while. You mean just like casting, like thinking
Yeah, like
for
just playing a game with your friends. Like my friend Bob, he says if he had the power of the Infinity Stone, he would make Marlon Brando play the Mole Man. Like old Marlon Brando, like 6 weeks before death, Marlon Brando. Dr. Moreau, Marlon Brando.
Working on RJ's cover for Valiant 2 right now.
Look at that setup. You, that is like that's a great setup you got back there.
No, that's nothing. Man, watch this. Let's see if this works. We're going to check this out. Let's try this out. All right, yeah, so there's the setup.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Is that working?
Yeah.
You got yourself a clean workspace.
Yeah, I got some commissions that are overdue. Right there. A couple of here's some printout of some Alan Davis stuff. Because Alan Davis is my hero.
Yeah.
I posted. I think it was Rachel Summers Phoenix on Twitter X yesterday, and you jumped right on that because it was Alan Davis.
These are not what you think they are. They're for cleaning blotting brushes. So, just so you know.
I was going to make a joke, but we're on RJ's channel, and he classes up the place.
Oh, you got OMAC right there on the table. Look at that.
OMAC, yeah. Got some essential. I love going through these because the black and white, just being able to see the artwork like that. I love it. These essentials. I don't know if you guys have these ones.
I don't have that. No, I have the floppies. Yeah,
I do have the Excalibur. I can tell you right now, I have the graphic right under the OMAC. You got the Excalibur one.
Oh yeah, right here, yeah. I got a bunch of other ones. Oh, this is Bancroft's stuff.
Yeah, I just got that too. Is that great or what?
I haven't read it yet. I flipped through it and I just didn't really want to ruin it. So I thought that I would kind of, be a little careful. But so what do we got? We've got obviously the star of the show here.
Did you just get up and that thing just jumped in your chair?
No. This is.
I was gonna say, because that's the most.
You best keep that duck away from that cat, because two of them are not going to like each other. He has ducks, just to let you know, John.
Yeah, he sent me videos. He says, ducks, if you hate John, quack, and then he sends me videos of ducks quacking.
Yeah. History books, law books, some mechanical books, some science books. All mythology, writing and words and dictionaries, every dictionary you could possibly imagine, old dictionaries from like 1850, stuff like
That's
that.
Funny. RJ and I both do that too. We have old dictionaries.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Some art composition books, art supplies, stuff like that. I'm actually retooling this space, but so more books on. Right. No. These ones are on occult and religion and philosophy. These ones are, I think, the same. And then we get into some plays, and then some literature, some classic literature. Oh, there's some. What's that?
D&D.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and behind it we've got.
Is there second edition, aren't they? Or third?
Yeah, there's a second edition. Yeah.
Second. That's what I played. I actually had the red box as well when I was a kid.
Yep.
So
I keep threatening to do a walkthrough of my. I have a little guest room upstairs, but that's also, I call it the library. Oh,
I love these books here. Absolutely love them. I think I've mentioned them before, but the Siegfried.
Oh yeah.
Oh, these are just unbelievably beautiful.
Those are European, right?
Yeah. So old art books, Renaissance, some manga. Got some, some perfect bound, collections, trades, like all that stuff. These are my art production books. So, Mulan, Tarzan, Pocahontas, Lion King, stuff like that. Illusion of Life is a classic Disney. Remember, I went to animation school, so these are pretty big for me. Moana, Monsters Universe, like they're just all the production art books and everything. Then you get into the Japanese stuff. So, you got Totoro, Mononoke, on and on and on. All the Nausicaa manga, yep. Some Akira right there, Blade of the Immortal, some more production books down here, some more art books. Gustave Doré, beautiful, incredible, insane.
They say the same thing about me.
Oh, what do we got here? Got some Dragon
magazines.
Yeah.
Your stack is much bigger than mine.
Here's some more role playing. So we've got the other Dungeons and Palladium.
So what was the last time you actually sat down in person and played Dungeons & Dragons?
Probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Okay, that's
yeah.
Do either of you have I think it's 3rd edition Ranger's Handbook?
No.
Oh, those fake leather looking?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are 2nd edition. I don't know if I have the. I just bought a stack of them. I got it off of eBay, and I haven't even looked at what's in it. I might have it. I'll go look. I'll go look after the stream and see what is in. Like I got a big old stack of them.
I can remember going to the bookstore and finding both the Paladin Handbook and the Ranger Handbook, and I didn't have the money to buy it, so I was coming back with my money, and the Ranger Handbook was gone, so I had to settle for buying the Paladin one.
This is my oversized printer, so I can print things like 13 by 19, I think it is. I'm reorganizing this area here. This is where
you have a 3D printer?
I do, but it's in a box somewhere. So this is my writing station. So you've got, all sorts of books on writing. This one's actually good by Uzzle. That's an old one and difficult to find. So books on writing.
I have to say, just right here for everybody, that this might look to you like a very messy space, but he's much more organized than me.
I like I said, I'm actually I was just reorganizing everying because I'd been here for about 2 years almost, and I was like, okay, I've lived in the space. Yeah, it has. I've been in the space for a while. I need to really kind of organize. And then this here
is this the ground floor of your house?
No, this is the basement. It has a walkout, but it's actually the basement. Yeah. So this here, I've just started setting up. This is where I do storyboards for my own comic.
Oh, cool.
So I come over here and set up, storyboards and basically working out the beats for the story. So as an artist, it's a little bit different, right? Because some writers have the ability to kind of see it play like a movie in their head, and that's well and good, but so does an artist, obviously. And when you start drawing, you learn that those movies you see in your head actually don't work at all. You have to sit down and draw it out and see where your imagination is moving further and further into Plato's forms and losing completely any ability to express in the physical realm. So rubber meets the road is another way of saying that, right? So it's interesting to be able to sit down as a like I've written things for film and television and stuff like that for other people, but when you're doing something for yourself, it's as an artist, you can really get into just the storytelling and the expression and the abstraction and all that. All these are fantasy novels, all in there. I've got over 500 or something. And then in here, some more junk. What do I got here? So obviously
wait a minute. You're not supposed to really like comic books if you're in this comic books.
More X-Men, yes. Looks like Generation X there with the Parallax, I think. What you got reading?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they're bagged and boarded. Congratulations. You're,
Clan Death Side is
yeah.
Alan Davis. This is an Alan Davis pile here. So
I got some
you
Silvestri in there as well,
Excalibur.
and some Jim Lee.
Silvestri, I think over here. So I got, some Cyber Force, but then I got, of course,
X-Men, yep.
yeah, right. Some Wildcats, Jim Lee, Uncanny, or
They
actually,
look like they're kind of organized. Like what is the organization of them? Like,
well, as an artist, I'm thinking about it in terms of trying to categorize. Okay, so like,
Tom Strong, those are awesome.
aren't they?
Yeah,
Love these.
Yeah.
No. Obviously, English, you have grammar, you have ways of expressing, you have, all that stuff. It's the same with art, right? There's a certain grammar, a certain language.
I think we're losing your audio, Nick.
We're losing you, Nick.
Oh, how about now? Are we back?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I guess that room might be a little bit.
And also keep in mind that Nick is in Canada, so if he was to go outside right now, it's 18 feet of snow.
Not quite, but yeah. So that's the studio. Is this the whole basement is essentially where I build everything.
I like what Gordon says. Nick must have excellent discipline. I would not get any work done with all the goodies in that space.
Markers, art
now
supplies.
I got to compete with Nick. This is my space. There's where I do my thinking.
The bathroom. Yes.
So this is my room. There's my board game table, all these board games. And then I can't walk over there, but over there, that door, that's my comic book room. I've done streams from there. And again, that's where I do my thinking over there. So, and then upstairs, I got a library that's nowhere. That is the room. We moved in 3 years ago, and I think everybody has a room where they just throw boxes that they don't know what to do with yet. Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, I'm sitting in that room right now.
So my library and guest room, believe it or not, our guest room is still. The cats love it because we can't find them when the cats go in there. We just give up. Forget it. The cats won. We can't. Put a collar on them or whatever. You know what I mean?
The cats always win. Forget it.
Yeah. But I've been telling myself that I was going to organize that room. It's been 3 months, but as people may or may not know, this isn't my channel. I literally broke my neck, and today's my first day out of a collar.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I was out with a chainsaw and literally a sword. My neighbors must be laughing at me. If I was trying to do an insurance scam, there's no way I'm going to win, because about 3 weeks ago, I'm outside with pieces of wood in a neck brace with a sword, blasted Black Sabbath, chopping wood. And then 2 days later, I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, your neck isn't broken. Your neck is shattered. And at any moment, a piece could come off. So I wouldn't be doing stuff like that. So I got scared. So I stopped doing anything for the past 3 weeks. So now now I might
I'm sure that was really difficult for you.
What's that?
I'm sure that was really difficult for you.
Oh, yeah, to do nothing. Well,
to do nothing.
Well, men.
Yeah.
I could enjoy about 2 weeks of doing nothing. Then literally 3 weeks after the accident was when I was out with the chainsaw cutting stuff, because we can't sit still.
I was just saying to John that the reason why Russ isn't here, because I didn't get to send him the link until late, and I think he's in England. But the reason why I didn't get to send him the link until late is because I screwed up my back this morning, and man, did I feel lazy just sitting around all day. Like, there's an entire day gone. I'm thinking I had so much planned for today, and I had to force myself to sit down, or I would have made it worse.
One of my friends came to New York to visit, and I was like, hey, let's go to a diner. Let's go to my favorite diner. And that morning he fell, hurt his back. So here is a guy 40 years old. I'm 56 years old. I'm in a neck brace. He's getting out of the car with the cane, and I'm helping him walk up the stairs. We look like the two invalids. You know what I mean? Like, hey, young guy. He's all muscular, covered in tattoos, and he can't walk. I was like, yeah. Welcome to adulthood, ladies and gentlemen.
What we were going to do, since Russ, I think, is probably going to have to come on next week, is we were going to go back to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, and since we're going to do a bit of more comic live stream, and see if we can pick out what each of us has and bought off of the spinner rack or whatever else you want to figure out about these comics here, because this is what I was doing last weekend. So I just love going through this site. We'll just keep it there for a minute. I don't know if I can make that any bigger. Let's see.
Go
Full screen layout.
That Avengers right in the middle. Avengers 197.
Hit RJ, are you on a PC?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm on my laptop.
Like a Windows machine, I mean?
Yes.
Try hitting control. Oh, what did you just do? Oh, never mind. I was gonna say hit control plus.
Unfortunately, let's see here. The covers are not usually that spectacular, but yes, I love this cover, John,
Yeah.
just to say, because it has the Shogun Warrior there in the corner. I love Shogun Warriors. I had those toys when I was a kid.
Yeah. Those 80s licensed comics were a lot better than they should have been. Like the Micronauts, the Shogun Warriors. There was even a Godzilla one.
Yeah, I have a lot of the Godzilla plus the ROM. I was going on about the ROM.
Oh, ROM. Yeah, how can I forget ROM? ROM is so good. That one probably held up the best out of all of them.
I would say so. Like I've been, as I said, I never like to buy things online. I just hunt for stuff. So I've always been hunting for the last few ROM that I am missing from my collection of ROM.
You're better than me. I will go locally first. And after I ease my conscience that I go to that Battlestar Galactica. I love that. After I ease my conscience, then I'll go online.
Battlestar Galactica. Is that Walter Simonson? Because I know he did it for a while. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, good.
No,
Eyes.
the editor is Louise did the editing for that. I didn't realize.
But this comic was my first Battlestar Galactica. I went in and my father took me to his barbershop. So I'm going to like the barbershop where guys have cigars and they're all Italian and they're all yelling at each other, but they're just talking loud. You know what I mean? And I had to like not cry. You know, I'm a little kid, and this was on the stand. Like they had Playboy magazines and newspapers and this particular issue. And the guy just gave it to me, and I just sat there while my father got a haircut.
Wow.
You know, my brother's got a haircut. So I just always have a love of that comic. What happens is
names on this? You got Bill Sienkiewicz, Klaus Janson, Walter Simonson, Louise Simonson. This is a Battlestar Galactica book, which is not a big book. Too. Yeah. It's a small little book for Marvel at the time. You got giants working on this book.
Well, Simonson did a bunch of things like that, right? Like he was doing all sorts of like little science fiction stuff, like stuff that wasn't necessarily huge, especially in the beginning of his career.
Yeah, that's how they cut their teeth on the second string stuff, and then they got big.
I don't know. I was saying this last week when I did this, but I have so many DC. I didn't even realize how much DC I have, but I have this because this is I think, a little Archie size book that this Superman came out at that time.
Lois looks
still have it in my collection.
Mackerel.
Look at how clean that stuff is, man. I love that.
Who is that? Dick Giordano? I'm trying to read.
It is
Ross Andrew and Dick
it says it right there. I'm looking at this. Yeah, Ross Andrew and Dick Giordano. Yeah, I love the way Dick Giordano draws women. They just look like, I don't know, classy and beautiful.
I have to pull that out because the funny thing is these books, which are the digest size books, I just have laying on top of one of my collection of boxes. I have the boxes all alphabetized and things like that, but I don't have the smaller ones like that.
I remember that Daredevil. That's Frank Miller. That's Daredevil fighting Dr. Octopus.
Yep.
I just love those after images.
How are these sorting, RJ? Like
by the month that they came out. We're doing
chronological order.
The month that we are at right now, I think, is April or March 1980.
Cool.
April 1980.
What's the name of the site? This is a pretty cool
Mike'sAmazingWorld.com. So you can go to I think it's the newsstand. Yeah, the newsstand. He has a bunch of ways that you can organize and check out comics and covers and things like that. But he has a lot.
Look at how many non-Marvel and DCs there are. I see Charlton. I see Aardvark.
Yeah. Cerebus is there. Yeah.
The Doctor Who Weekly.
Crazy.
that's
creepy.
Marvel. Fawcett was still publishing then. I forgot. I didn't realize that they were publishing that late. Is it the same Fawcett that? Because I always thought they went out of business, and handed everything to Marvel. DC,
Which one is the Fawcett one? I can't pick it
Dennis
out.
the Menace. It says
Oh, it's
Fawcett.
Dennis the Menace. Okay,
Mhm.
let's take a look.
Yeah.
It is Fawcett publisher. Yeah.
I guess they just gave all the Captain Marvel stuff to DC and still published licensed stuff. I don't know, but yeah. Wow. $1.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go to this site.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool site. I didn't know about that.
I think we got Mike Zeck here with the Captain America.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, Dum Dum Dugan.
Uh,
Do these guys have the Infinities song? Like, how is Dum Dum Dugan still alive?
he, if I remember correctly, had
That's John
taken
Byrne.
some of the experimental super soldier serum, but not the one that actually worked well, but just extended his life.
Yeah, it made his mustache invincible. So if he ever got shot in the upper lip, he would survive.
The Conan the Barbarian, I have to click on.
Yeah, John
The Bear
Buscema.
God.
Yep.
Yes.
I can't picture Conan unless it has a John Buscema face.
Mhm.
That was funny because I was going to the other site that I usually go to, which just has covers. I can't remember the name of it, but I clicked on Conan, and it took me to the I don't know, it was Dark Horse site or the one of them that was showing the other ones. Like, I don't want to see these covers. I was actually just trying to figure out, okay, what would be a good one panel monster, right? And I was thinking, now I'm going back to these covers here.
Click on that crazy. People forget that Marvel had full-on humor magazines. And in my neighborhood, there was like a war between the kids that liked crazy, the kids that liked cracked, and the kids that liked mad.
Yeah.
It was, like, I joked that it was like a West Side Story gang.
Much blood was spilled.
Yeah.
We all got mad around here. There was some crazy.
Yeah,
You get some
agree.
crazy.
Mad was the way to go. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know that Crazy was a Marvel comic at the time. I just know that they did a lot of bad parodies of Marvel comics, and I don't know. I still don't. Parody to me is like the lowest form of comedy.
Who the
Or at
heck
least
is on the
comic.
television screen? I don't even know. Dredge my memory.
Yeah, sports guys. So I don't know. I don't know. If you ever play Trivia Pursuit and you get to pick the topic for me to lose, pick sports. I don't know anything.
Let's just take out here who the creepy cover artist is.
Enrico Torres.
Uh,
Oh, Heinrich Torres. That's kind of creepy. Witchcraft, demons, devils, and magic. Satan minions, they rise from hell.
It's Warren Publishing.
The second, I remember this one. The second story in this is called Diddy Party. No laughs. Okay, all right. I'll let myself out.
Although I gotta say, okay, I have this Defenders. This is one of the earliest Defenders that I have. What number is it? It's not 2.
Rich Buckler.
What?
And Al Milgrom.
What's the number on it? 85. Good heavens.
Oh, look, there's Black Panther and Hellcat. Look at that Hulk. Panther's Peril. Look at that.
Defenders was always a book which you bought if you didn't find anything else to buy.
Yeah. I know a couple of people in my chats are always like they like the Defenders more than they like the Avengers. But yeah, to me, the Defenders was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll get a Defenders comic. We walked all the way to the store. I got to get something.
Exactly. Which, again, there's the Detective Comics. I bought this one off Spinner Rack too. This is beautiful cover. I love those old DC covers.
Jim Aparo is Nick. Who is your favorite Batman artist?
You know what? I've never really read Batman. Yeah, pin drop. Never really read it.
And you got the same reaction as my joke. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm multitasking here. I'm trying to
I like
do
Jim
two things at
Aparo.
once. That my brain is going in 3 different directions.
Go
I don't
on
know
that
if humor
Fantastic
actually makes
Four.
an impact.
That Fantastic Four 220 right there.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, John Byrne. This is like the forgotten John Byrne run.
I honestly
John
don't
Byrne
know this.
did Fantastic Four from like 205, I think, to around here, and then he
220,
came
yeah.
back and wrote and drew it. Yeah. I think this was a retelling of their origin. Look at that. Yeah, no Batman, Kick Nick, and Joe. Why? I read Batman, Gordon. I already said Jim Aparo was my favorite.
I just was never really like a DC guy until like later, and then I start looking into it more. But I just wish I had more time to read more stuff. A lot of my comic book, I guess you could say like reading, if you want to call it that now, is literally just as I was trying to say before I got cut out in the other room there, was just trying to figure out like visual grammar and how to express story better and storytelling and things like that. And so it's a completely different part of my mind that's engaged than just sitting down to actually enjoy a book. I haven't done that in a long time. Just sit down and enjoy a read.
These fantasy masterpieces, these were reprints. This is reprinting the Silver Surfer original run.
I have to ask this question right now, though, because look at the Silver Surfer. So Zach over at Comics Matter just did, and I didn't get to watch it yet. He did what looks like a video on Mobius's Silver Surfer and how much he couldn't actually finish the book. I'm thinking, how could you not finish Mobius's Silver Surfer? That's an iconic book. I can remember, again, that was something really special when it came out, and I bought it.
Zach is the weirdest guy on the internet, you know. I'm loyal to Zach. I still watch him, but sometimes I shake my head. It's like, come on, Zach. You know?
What are your thoughts on Mobius, Nick?
Oh, yeah, incredible! Are you kidding? Yeah, I mean, how many comic artists did he influence? It's not just like Mobius himself, but it's also just his impact in the industry. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're looking for something that is sort of an abstract vista of like science fiction orgasm, I mean, there it is.
Oh, I love this Jonah Hex. This is one of the ones I used as an example of beautiful, the perfect covers. I think Jonah Hex had the perfect covers because you have different, you have usually three different points of danger, as well as the story going on at the same time. I think those Jonah Hex covers, which again have these comics, so many of them, probably from my uncle, and read them when I was a kid.
The only thing it's missing is giant scorpions at the bottom of that pit he's going to fall into.
Yeah.
I'm reading these Jonah Hexes for the first time because back as a kid, I didn't want to read Western comics. Man, they are so good. In a time where like Superman was like, my costume got taken away to another planet. Come on, Jimmy Olsen, drink this and turn into a giraffe and help me. And then you had these Jonah Hex stories that were like really, really adult in the non-porno version of them.
Yeah, one thing about Western story, people who like Western stories, is they want something top of the line. Right. Because they get a lot of stuff out there with pulp novels, especially back in the 80s. They had pulp novels and comics and television shows coming out their ears. So you had to be top of the line if you wanted to do stuff in the genre of Western.
Click on that Justice League 180. Is that George Perez?
I think it is. Jim Starlin.
Jim Starlin. Wow.
This is the old Zartana costume from JLA.
Yeah.
I think this is right before George Perez took over. Well, who does the interior art? This is just a cover.
Let's see. Dick Dillon.
Yeah, and Frank McLaughlin. Okay.
Zoom back into that picture again. Look at the Green Arrow. Look at his Superman's yellow part of his symbol there. Almost looks like his nose is extended.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought that
looks
too.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Well, Green Arrow's telling lies.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it does, but it looks like he's got the pointy chin and a pointy nose.
Exactly. Full and the pointy hat. It looks great.
Dance of Death. Oh, these stories were awful sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, full disclosure, I didn't come to comics until about the age of 15, and I'm a few years younger than you guys. So when I came in, like, the very first comic that I saw was Uncanny X-Men 272. Something like that.
1980. Let's take a look.
Oh, look,
135.
X-Men. Yeah, there you go. That caught everybody. Now let's just do an experiment. Like scroll. Like look at that. Tell me that cover didn't just pop out amongst all those covers.
Yeah.
Well, that's not just the penciler and the inker. I mean, that's the colorist working with them, right? Like, yeah.
Nick, you're the artist out of us two, old fart writers. What do you think? Is this just a phenomenal piece of comic book art right here?
Like, when it comes to, I mean, this is the difficult part, right? Like everybody loves John Byrne. I love John Byrne. I think that John Byrne sometimes kind of, when it comes to anatomy or his faces and things like that, a little bit wonky. It also depends on who's inking him. Is this a great cover? Yes, it's a great cover. But you have to ask the question, like, when okay, if I was to ask you guys something about writing, I was going to say, okay, break this down for me, or was this a great story, or what? You'd be like, yeah, that's a great story, but there were a couple of moments where there's a plot hole here, or there's this. When I look at any artist, it's the same thing. It doesn't even matter if it's an art god like John Byrne. I'm still trying to analyze it. So when I look at this, I look at the foreshortening of the arm and how weak that is. I look at, and I'm like, and then I take a step back, but I look at the cover and how stark and how brilliant and how, as you said, on the stand, this stands out.
Right.
Right. That's the part that John Byrne, usually always gets right, even if he has to like rush through a page or whatever. Because I mean, that guy was insane. He was doing 3 pages a day in some cases. Like, come on.
I think you would have to take Stan Lee's advice that he gave to John Buscema it wasn't John Buscema, it was John Romita. He said, okay, you're going to be working for us this much, throw away your eraser. Just get rid of it right now.
Yeah.
So I want to take a look at this book. I remember getting this one, John. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. It came in a package with with an 8-track, not an 8-track, with a cassette tape.
Oh,
and
really?
There was a cassette tape of the story, and it was red.
John Byrne penciler. Look at that.
Yeah. I don't even remember where we got it
writer
from.
Len Wein, penciler John Byrne, inker Jim Aparo. Holy mackerel! This colorist Glenn Wein and this is like the A-team of comics. Look at this.
Definitely the A-team of Batman.
That coloring's really smart.
And the cover is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, a name that gets me winded every time I say
it. This is quite honestly one of the covers that inspired the ad that I did for the Valiant or Thomas Valiant #1 that I put in someone else's comic. What the heck was it? I think it was
20 cents. Gordon Good Brothers, check it out. The Gordon. Now look at the anatomy of the Joker's skull. That's not even a human skull.
I think that Riddler's kind of buff there, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't fight with the Riddler. But look at Joker. It's that is like one of those skulls that like they find in the Maya that they use for conspiracy theories that there's aliens among us. Like he has to have,
I like it when they do Joker skinny like that. That's
yeah. I was just looking at the 3 different body types you got here, the 3 different villains.
Yeah,
beautiful diversity. There you want diversity.
This is one of the things that really bothers me about, like, okay, so I said to you guys, I came to comics late. I was 15 years old. That was around 90 something, and I was obviously like an image kid, but I also went to art school and did all that stuff too. The thing is that over time you start to realize, okay, these image guys aren't really all that great. They're good at some things. Obviously, they're terrible at others. And one of the things that you see is the same face syndrome, the same body syndrome. Like, they can't seem to draw themselves different body types, different facial types, expressions. There's like 2 or 3 expressions that they can draw and nothing else. It's amazing when you start looking back at the older guys. You're talking about those Western books. Like, a lot of those Westerns are top quality artists, and the kind of characterization that you find in these Westerns, they're incredible. And everything from just posture to expression to everything is awesome.
And again, with the Sergeant Rock again, I don't know why we have so many Sergeant Rock from this era, but me and my brothers, but we have a lot of these Sergeant Rock. Again, you want top of the line, more adult stories than 1980. You go to Western and war comics.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you said. The fans of westerns and war comics, they're not into like the frivolity of superheroes. They want something more realistic.
Yeah, frivolity of superheroes. Here's one right here. We have this as well, the Superman alternate universe where you had a Supergirl. I think it was Lois Lane, and
that's
a
what I'm
male
talking
Wonder Man.
You had Superman comics like this, and then you had those Jonah Hex comics. It was almost like DC was schizophrenic.
Gordon here is saying, I don't think the 15-year-old is that unusual to collect comics. I would agree. The thing is that I would say though is that when you cut, and this is sort of, I mean, you guys can speak for yourselves. I mean, but I'll gladly speak for you as well. When you guys were collecting, maybe you're like 8, 9, 10 years old. Your mind is like thinking a certain way and experiencing comics and the world and everything in a very different way. When I came to them at 15, it was because I saw this art form for the first time. I had seen comics before. My mom was a little bit of an artist herself, and she would draw me Mighty Mouse. Not that was necessarily comic, that was more animation, but I think there was a Mighty Mouse comic. But coming to it at an older age and seeing this artwork, and what happened for me was the stories and everything, they affected me differently than I think they would have affected a 10-year-old. For a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old reading this stuff, I mean, your mind would be absolutely blown from the stories and from the characters and everything else. When I came to it at 15, I didn't really get into a lot of the story. To be honest, I didn't really get into a lot of the stories. There were some characters that I liked, but most of it was just me following artists.
Well, were you an artist at 15?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, click on that Star-Lord. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how early of a Star-Lord did you buy back in the 80s? Because everybody's with the whole Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy thing now. I can remember Star-Lord as being a throwaway character in the dollar bin.
Well, this Star-Lord, I think issue number 1 of Marvel Spotlight was Captain Marvel. I think issue 1, 2, and 3 were Captain Marvel. I think 4 was Star-Lord. 4 or 5 was Star-Lord. So
we could take a look right
how
now.
Different Frank Miller draws than
there you go.
Than he does now.
So yeah, okay. So Dragon Lord, I forgot about Dragon Lord. So yeah, issue 6. That was issue 6. Click on that. That was my very first exposure to Star-Lord.
Yeah,
and that tells his origin.
Sinkovich.
And then I went and I got the Marvel Presents, the actual, because this is a reprint of the Marvel Presents.
Right. The
Marvel Presents had more material in it, and the original Star-Lord was a villain. His parents got killed by space aliens, and he said, "I'm going to go to space and kill every MFer of that race that killed my mother." And he just dedicated his life to becoming an astronaut and everything. And then when he's in the space station and an astronaut, he's like, "Okay, now how do I get to space?" And then they got contacted. We're going to take one per Earthling and give him a spaceship. And they selected somebody else. Well, he went and murdered that person and took the spot. And then the aliens that gave him the spaceship, they're like, "Okay, go kill everybody of that race." And he does it. And it's like, "Okay, you're done. Now you can do what we want you to do." That's not the origin of a hero. And then they put it in that regular comic. They whitewashed it. They took all of the vengeance out of it. Just, he was an astronaut. He went to the space station. He was selected to become you know what I mean? So he has 2 origins.
I always thought that the first issues and the origin of Star-Lord was in one of the Marvel magazines, not in the regular
Marvel Preview number 27.
Okay, so that was a magazine then. I'm not misremembering.
Yeah, I did it as a video in one of my comics. I think I did it as a Sunday Comics. You could actually see me going through and showing the original origin of Star-Lord. He was a dark, bad person. To see this jokey guy in the movies. Oh, that Captain America cover is awesome.
There's George Perez. George Perez with the Red Ronin. Shogun Warriors there on the on the beginning. We have this, and my brother must have brought this up the newsstand.
Look at the buildings.
This is the kind of thing that you need with, if you ask me, if you have a team book, is this giant, and they're just getting slaughtered. I mean, through most of this book, the Avengers are getting taken down a peg by this giant robot, if I remember correctly. But yeah, quite a story. And then with the George Perez art starting up on that Avengers as well. Let's see.
Dan Green art, inker rather.
Yeah, Dan Green.
Yeah, everybody loves Dan Green from his X-Men, right? With Mark Silvestri. Am I thinking of the right person?
Yeah, you are. Which one was it that you want me to click on?
Captain America with the Dragon Man.
Oh yes, got that as
such
well.
A great cover.
Yeah, John Byrne again, isn't it?
Yeah, again, inker Joe Rubenstein. Yeah, I love that Dragon Man. Just look at the eyes of that creature.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so well done.
And again, here's another one where first you had John Byrne, and then you get the other covers from what's his name? Oh, for crying out loud, I can't remember. But anyways, the Captain America covers always pulled you in as well. They were like number one. This is on the stand this month. I'm grabbing it, right?
And this is what Captain America to me has always just been like action guy. You know, that every issue was some sort of political tirade. You know, it was like, oh my God, Dragon Man's attacking. We got to take out Dragon Man. Oh,
exactly. No, it's Mike Zeck that I'm thinking of.
Some freak is flying a biplane that's going to crash into Manhattan. We got to take him out. You know, and then once in a while there'd be politics, but just
I know. I'm with you because with the Mike Zeck run, which is the one I remember mostly as a kid, and I did a video like first of my channel where I went over one of the Mike Zeck. I think it was the Deadlock Captain America issue. Can't remember, but if I can see if it's here somewhere. But yeah, it was just ridiculous. But I loved it. Now I sat there and I read it through the entire video, probably 45 minutes, and just laughed at the entire thing. It was great. Is Mike Zeck here?
Wow, a lot of good Captain America covers.
Oh, there's the Mike Zeck one. That's like, this is the one that got me into Captain America. Revolution 1993. Because he went into the future, because it's 1980. Is it 1980? What is it?
I love like 70s,
83.
80s versions of the future, you know?
Yes, you had the mandatory stand-in for Mr. T, and who else was there? Swashbucklers, and a couple others. What's his name? Kazar, stand-in, things like that for this entire team. But yeah, love those Captain America covers.
Yeah, these are fun. What's the name of the site again? You told me 3 times. I can't remember.
Mike'sAmazingWorld.com.
Mike's Amazing World. This is fun. Yeah, I love like series that were made in the 60s and 70s that are set in the future, like Space 1999. You know, it's just so quaint. You know, Space 1999 was made in like 1972, and September 13th, 1999, the moon leaves orbit, you know, and then travels across the galaxy. I resent the fact that I thought that was good science fiction. I watch it now, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I always loved. I never realized about Space 1999. I'll show some covers here, but I never realized until I actually got on the internet and started watching things a couple of years ago that I always thought when I was a kid that we were just missing a whole bunch of episodes of Space 1999 and they just skipped from one to another. But no, between season 1 and season 2, and then season 2 and season 3, they basically just cut out a whole bunch of characters and almost started again. And it's like, yes. What the heck happened there? Well.
And they showed them out of order.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch them in order. So, because I'm such an anal retentive, I'm watching them on Netflix in order, and I have to go to Wikipedia and jump around to watch in the correct order. But even that doesn't matter.
Look at these beautiful covers.
BBC, and BBC doesn't care about continuity.
No, they don't.
Richard Corbin.
It's really graphic. I like that.
I discovered Richard Corbin from those Twisted Tales, and I'll tell you, that was like the first time. Like, I've seen Pepsi Girls in comics before, but Richard Corbin was the first time I felt like I got to hide this from my mom.
There's some beautiful, like, I mean, science fiction fantasy covers with Erie. I mean, some of these are just amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm up to here. What do I have right here? I'm reading. I'm up to issue 11 in Creepy, right next to me. And what am I up to in Erie? I forget, but I'm up to like 12 or something like that.
You're up to your ears in Erie.
Yep, I'm up to my Erie Canal. You're
I
allowed
don't
to
have very many of these at all, but I just love the covers. I
and they're
never got-
so good. Nick, you must. Do you get these old comics and Eerie and Creepy and just marvel at the art?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't have the physical because there was a period there when I wasn't collecting at all. But I do have them digital. Like I've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 terabytes of comics digital. So yeah, I mean, I flipped through a lot of the old stuff. I'm constantly just snagging, like I do screen grabs all the time and put them into like various organized folders and things like that, so that I can, call back. I also tag them so that I can like do it. So just like you tag like in Twitter, like I tag images with like certain things and stuff so that I can find them later. I'm looking for a mountain, I'll type mountain, and then all of a sudden all these images can pop up, stuff like that. So this stuff is invaluable, and these older artists are just superior in so many ways when it comes to drawing.
You'll never see
everything.
You'll never see the art like you see in Eerie and Creepy. Scroll up a bit. We went by Marvel Preview. I didn't want to interrupt while Nick was talking, but you keep going up. You're going to see that Merlin all the way in the right. You see it says Merlin right there, Marvel Preview 22. Now, if you click on the series, you'll see the first appearance of a Star-Lord.
Oh yes, there we go.
There we go. Marvel Preview
Right after the Thor.
Yeah. So that's the first appearance of that. That's not it. I think that's the second appearance.
Is it? Oh yeah, you're correct. There's the first appearance right there.
Yeah, that's the first appearance. Yeah, and read that. You'll see that he's not a good guy.
A man on a mission of cosmic vengeance.
Yep.
There you go.
And he, I think it was Steve Englehart created him, and he was supposed to be based on astrology. That's why he had the gun that shot air, earth, fire, and water. Air signs, fire signs, and it was supposed to be that he got affected by the constellations. It would change his moods and stuff like that, and all that stuff went out the window like almost immediately. That Satanic cover. Tell me that is not awesome.
I'll click on the Satanic, but the one that blows my mind is like, man, God, here. That's
Gladiator by that is a comic adaptation of the novel Gladiator by Philip Wiley. Oh, there it is. It says right there. That is the book that inspired Superman. So this is, Philip Wiley's father. Not father, but I forget the name of the character. But Philip Wiley wrote a novel called Gladiator, and he could jump an eighth of a mile. Nothing short of a exploding shell could burst his skin. And then he went up into the wilds of Canada and built the Fortress of Solitude. It's super.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm reading Clark. I'm reading Doc Savage now. He was in his own Fortress of Solitude when his father was killed.
Yep.
Look at that Merlin. That is ripped Merlin. If you're going to be a wizard, you might as well have an 18 strength along with your 18 intelligence. Hey, girl, I'm going to show you my etchings. It's like,
it's John Buscema.
Earl Noam, yeah. The Saga of Epic Beauty, but so John Buscema is doing Merlin.
I got to say, I have to go back down to this cover. Excuse me. But going through these covers, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this must be a month where we didn't have a whole lot of money, because I don't recognize a whole lot of these covers. But I do recognize the Superboy one, because this is actually part of the inspiration. This is the kind of scene I had in my head when I was writing the end of Thomas Valiant #1, where the wife of Ostrich smacks Thomas Valiant at the funeral.
This
Right?
is Superboy faces Karen. Karen from HR takes out Superboy.
That's Ma that's giving him a smack there.
Check your privilege, she says as she smacks him in the head. Yeah. Pretty much if there's a Marvel comic, except for the magazines. I wasn't allowed to get the magazines, but
there we go. Crucified in the tree of death.
it's funny. You remember the Conan movie? He says, James Earl Jones says, you will contemplate your actions on the tree of woe.
Yep.
Well, when I was teaching preschool, and we would go outside. It was in Albuquerque, so there was a lot of sand. And that was like the big rule: you're not allowed to throw sand because sand would get in the other kids' eyes. So it was like the number one thing. All the teachers would go nuts if you were throwing sand. So I just, as a joke, I was like, "Did you throw sand?" And this is a kid. He's 3 years old. He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You must contemplate your actions on the bench of woe." And there was just a little bench under a tree. And he's just with his hands in his chin, and his mother comes up. She's, "Cisco, what are you doing?" He goes, "I threw sand, so now I have to contemplate my actions on the bench of woe." And that just became the name. All the school, all the parents thought that was the funniest thing. The bench of woe.
I do remember having this Peter Parker. I still have it in my collection. It's all beat up. Not the best story in the world, but this cover again pulls you right in.
Peter Parker was my Spider-Man because I just happened to get issue number 1, and like a friend of mine, I was collecting Amazing Spider-Man, but I didn't know what the numbers meant. I saw 40 cents, but 45. What is 45? And my friend told me, these are numbers. You got to get them in order. So I just happened to get Spectacular Spider-Man number 1, and that was it. Like I abandoned Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular because, I knew I wasn't going to be able to get Spider-Man from number 1.
I remember the same feeling when Web of Spider-Man number 1 came out.
But the funny thing is, there's another
look at this. Wow, I love that cover. I mean, that's a panel from one of the books.
Yeah.
Right?
That was an advertisement.
It's no credit.
Yeah, well that's a British comic. The British,
because I think it's a reprint of I don't remember what number it is, but it was most probably John Romita.
Yeah, no credit. Yeah, every once in a while, you see British, because the weeklies they would have to make new covers.
Yeah. Shogun Warriors.
See, Fantastic. Yeah, that's part 2 to that Fantastic Four.
Herb Trimpe.
I don't know. I mean, I've said this so many times on my channel. I don't even know if anybody else had Shogun Warriors. I remember these toys when I was a kid.
I had the toys. I had the comics. I loved them.
Yeah, because I was always running around the house because we had the one, the Shogun Warrior. Basically, he shot discs out of his arm, right?
Yep.
So you'd shoot them all over the place.
Radine. That's Spider-Woman. I remember that cover. I remember all of these covers. I don't remember the Star Wars or Star Trek. I didn't get those. That I always thought was a cool cover costume. What was he? The Enforcer. I don't know. Just 2 colors, not a lot of lines. Something about Spider-Woman that, she's just like one of the sexiest characters ever.
Yeah, the stories always fell down for me though.
Quite honestly, not that good. Michael Fleisch, although he wrote a lot of good Jonah Hex stories.
Yeah, again with we have this Superman from way the heck back. This is what I said last week. I don't know if you were watching or you heard me talk about that, John, is that all these DC covers, if you want to write 100 comics, 1,000 comics, go look at the run of Superman or Batman or whatever else. Look at the cover. Don't read the stupid thing because the cover has absolutely nothing to do with the story on the inside. Make yourself your own story based off that cover, and it will be unique enough, and you can just put your own superhero into the entire thing. Quite honestly, you could write forever and ever just looking at these covers, if you ask me.
And it's funny because that's Jerry Conway, and then he comes over to Marvel and he'll draw like adult story. Oh, look at that Thor cover fighting the Midgard Serpent.
That was inspiration for Walt Simonson's one of the last books he did for it when he battles the Midgard Serpent. He first came out as Fing Fang Foom and then revealed himself as the Midgard Serpent. I remember that book. Let's go to it. I got to show you. That is one of the most beautiful. Nope, Journey into Mystery. Oh, it's going through all the Thor here. But I remember copying. Where the heck is it? This cover. There it is right there. I remember drawing this cover over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Walt Simonson. I do agree with you. I think this is one of the best comic book runs of all time. This Walt Simonson's Thor.
All right.
I just got a friend request on Facebook from Jerry Ryan. Should I accept it? I always like 7 of 9.
Oh, really? Is that who's you got celebrities wanting to be your friend now, John?
Yeah. It's not suspicious at all.
Well, I hadn't got to look through any of the chat. I am sorry, fellas, just because I was controlling the covers and going through them, so I didn't get to look. Oh, good heavens!
And Howard Chaykin did an adaptation of Gladiator called Legend. I didn't know that.
Well,
yeah, the Gladiator novel is it's like a little thin pocketbook. Oh,
sorry, John. I just realized, since I wasn't even in this screen, that Russ has been sitting here.
oh, geez.
I'm sorry, Russ. I was in a completely different screen. I did not notice that you were here. I apologize.
I think the times may be wrong because you said 9:30 to me. And you guys have been on for a little while now. So
yeah,
I've been backstage for a while. Never mind.
Sorry, Russ.
I apologize. Like I said, I didn't even notice that you were there because I was in the other screen.
We got second string Russ, Nick Axe over here at the same hat.
Hello.
He tried to make himself
Hello.
look
Well, I tried my best. Well, I'll bounce you guys. Okay. You guys can continue on.
If you don't mind, John, I'm going to keep on going with Russ here, and we're going to talk about the Atlantean since we have the chance. The campaign for the Atlantean is coming up on this Friday. It opens.
That's right. Yeah.
Where and when does it open? Because I did not get that link. I'm sorry. I'll look at my Twitter and see if you sent it to me.
Yeah, I sent you a link to basically to my website. You can go sign up for the email list there, and I'll let everybody know. It's going to be going live on Friday night. So as soon as that happens, I'll send out an email via the email list, and everyone will get to see it.
Okay, I am just working in the background here. So you could tell us a little bit about the Atlantean for anybody who doesn't know what your books are typically like, Russ.
There you go. There's the Shadow Kingdom. That was the last book I did. Yep. I did Randy Zimmerman of Arrow Comics. He adapted the original text from Robert E. Howard, and we produced the graphic novel for it. We were very pleased with what we did. Everybody seemed to like the book. What we wanted to do is take the two characters, Brawl and obviously Kull, and start basically telling stories from the end of that book, which Robert E. Howard had not done. So that's what we decided to do. We also wanted to do a black and white book, and the publisher over in Brazil who published the Shadow Kingdom for us there was also very keen. So that's what we've done. We've just gone ahead and done it, and I'm close to a finish on the inks now. We're gonna go for the campaign on Friday, and it's a month campaign. And as soon as it's done, it goes to print. Effectively, as soon as the campaign's finished, it goes to print.
Okay, if I remember correctly, the Shadow Kingdom was Indiegogo, was it not?
No, we did find my comic on that as well. We found it from a readership perspective, it didn't actually make a huge amount of difference. It was about getting out there and letting people know. It didn't matter what platform we were on. Right. It was about garnering an audience and speaking to people and just getting seen.
All right, let's scroll down a couple of things here.
The The email list is just the up on the top. That's just my website.
Oh,
You've
okay.
got there.
Gotcha,
You can
gotcha.
subscribe to the email list and that kind of thing. I can show you the cover though, if you're interested.
Sure. If you want to share that screen, we can do that.
Yeah, sure.
So, apologies again. I have, as I usually say, Amish levels of technical skills. So I missed a little bit of what you were speaking about when I was trying to put up the website in the background. But what is the story the Kull story that this is going to focus on? You said that you're basically taking the Robert E. Howard stories and inventing them anew with visual.
Yeah, at the end of the Shadow Kingdom, without dropping too many spoilers, Kull is aware of the menace that is the Serpent Kingdom, the people that the Serpent shape changers that sort of lurk in the background, and they sort of steer the world of men. And he decides that he's going to go out and get these guys, and he's going to stop them. And in order to do that, he and Brawl go off on I suppose like a road trip. And the idea is that we in the Atlantean, we produce a quarterly. That's the aim, a quarterly book where you have periodical content. It goes from story to story, so you have a complete story in every 50-page book, but at the same time it keeps you on the road with Kull and Brawl trying to find and destroy the Shadow Kingdom, as it were, the kingdom of the Serpent Men. So we're going to have a painted cover in each one. We've got Frere doing this one, and I'm talking to Ink Spots to do issue 2.
It looks like you're taking your inspiration from Savage Sword of Conan with those painted
without
covers
doubt.
right.
Yeah, without doubt. That's the kind of thing that we're after. And then inside, it's
black and whites, beautiful.
Black and whites with a wash. So it's very much got that vibe, yes, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with it. So here you go. There's a few pages that are already lettered. You get a big fight in the first few pages, which is quite nice. Enjoyed doing that stuff.
I love the fact that when you go back and read, say, Robert E. Howard stories for Conan and things like that, it always starts off in a place where he's not actually looking like he's going to be the main character. You know, there's something going on in the middle of a pub or something like that, and you're overhearing a conversation between two guys, and then he walks in, right?
yeah. It's that kind of thing. Yeah, it's like there's a living world. The Thurian age, Volusia is going on all around the journey that Kull and Brawl are taking. This first story might be considered maybe a quiet story, but it bases you in that world, and it takes you off on a side quest, and then it'll lead you somewhere else in the next episodical content. So you can enjoy the book as it is, but you can also know that if you want to keep going, there's going to be more story to this.
I love the fact that you're doing it in this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I always, when I read basically the Conan, which is Marvel's Conan, which is the Barbarian, not the Savage Sword, I always found that they seemed to be, for hundreds of issues, having story after story that were not connected to each other. But in the background, if you followed along in the map, you could see that he was on a specific journey. And that's the only thing that you could do to connect these things together, if you read them in order, was that he's going east for so long, and then all of a sudden he ends up in a place where, yes, I know this from my map from Conan the Barbarian, right? So I think you got the same feel of that going on here. You got one-shot stories, but it's a part of a giant journey that these two were on at the same time.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly where we're going with this. Yeah.
And what you just said, sorry to cut you off, John, but just 1 second. But as you just said, the feel of when you do that, the feel of the world being so expansive is right there always within that story.
Yeah.
Is there a map of Kull's world like there is a map of Conan's world? I'm not familiar.
There is. You can't use them. We have to redraw our own map. But there is a map. Yes.
And where is Atlantis set?
Atlantis is just off the coast, which is where Kull has come from, and he's now the king of Valusia.
Just off the coast of England.
It's just off the coast of the Valusia. You've got the map,
Okay.
yeah, and you've got all the areas on the map. So it's not a part of it's not like
world,
current maps.
Okay, it's
not a real place.
The modern world, yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
And
Conan's world kind of looks like Europe, but not really.
Yeah, a bit, yeah. But you've got a little bit of Asia in there as well. The Picts and the Atlanteans are off on the coast. They've got their own islands, and they have their own histories as well about the battles that they had between them.
And I forget how long Kull is in the past. How many years before Conan?
I think it's
age
2000 or 3000, something along those lines.
It depends on who you go by, John.
Yeah, Kull is.
I don't know enough about Kull. I know Conan now, thanks to Kull.
Yeah, Kull is at the end of the Thurian age, and actually, the age is starting to crumble around them. So there's an interesting, backstory or back scene as it is to the way that the world is at that moment in time, and then you get the collapse of Atlantis. Atlantis falls into the ocean, and there's a big geographic change, and then you still got the main landmass, and then that takes you into the Hyborian age. So,
are you a Tolkien fan?
I am a Tolkien fan. Yes.
Yeah, my buddy is reading the Silmarillion for the first time, and I was like, I said, let me make it easy for you to understand. Beleriand doesn't exist in the Lord of the Rings time that we're familiar with. Once you understand that, it'll be that's a Robert Howard thing, is destruction of continents, defining ages, just like Tolkien. And I'm now I want to know, Howard came out first because the Silmarillion didn't come out until like the 70s.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder, is this like a trope of continents literally rising and falling? And at the end,
I think it probably is, and I think it goes back a long way. I mean, I don't know if you are interested in alternate histories or not, as far as things like civilizations back beyond the Ice Age.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that there's a lot of evidence for that kind of thing. The mainstream archaeology doesn't want to know about it, but it seems to me, and to be honest, if that's the case, then just like the flood, the great flood of the earth, whether it be Noah or the Sumerian version of it, it's kind of set inside the human psyche. Seeing different areas come up as far as human civilization is concerned. The ebb and flow of human civilization. I think it's
we
all
all
part
kind of agree that Homo sapiens have been around for 2 million years.
Yeah,
and we only have about 6, 7. To be generous, 10,000 years of history.
That's right. Yeah. So what did we do for the rest of that?
Yeah. So I mean, my comic heroic tales, I don't think it's a secret, but there is a civilization that we don't talk about, don't know about, because cataclysmic events change continents stuff. But I like, for 2 million years, why not? Couldn't we make up a whole civilization 40,000 years ago that is lost? I think that's fun. Why not?
Yeah.
My friend Roy is, I don't know if he's serious or not, but he believes, or tells me he believes, the Tartarians. You know about this?
I've heard about. Is that the mudslide?
Yeah, the mudslides.
I've
They
heard
were in
about
Russia.
that,
Because he made up a character from our role playing game, Modern Superheroes, and he's descendant of the survivors of Tartar. And I didn't know what the hell he was. I thought he was making it up. I'm like, that's pretty creative. And then he sent me messages, and now I'm looking. I'm like, Another rabbit hole. Thanks a lot. Roy.
It is a rabbit hole to go
Yeah,
down. It's another one of these things you go, well, that makes sense. You know, it's
Next thing you know, I'm going to believe that there really is lands beyond Antarctica. Thanks a lot, Roy.
go down the big hole.
I always love the fact that, well, partly my universe is built upon the old Irish mythology, where basically what Howard got himself, the myths that he created Conan from, with Conan the 100 Battles and all stuff like that. But I have a lot of doors to other worlds, because in Celtic mythology, they're called other worlds. And basically you have to go through like a grove of trees or across a bridge or maybe under the water. And all of a sudden you're in a separate part of the world, which is cut off from the normal part of the world, which you can normally get to. And you can only go through it through these little bits and pieces.
So
and
that's like Lewis, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Right.
Yes.
Kind of
But
thing, yeah.
because that's old Celtic mythology right there. And quite honestly, when I discovered, I don't know, because I read as a kid so much Irish mythology. It was basically Lady Gregory, the compiled works. We just read it over and over and over again. But when I started to get into to Howard stuff, and especially the Conan things, you'd see the elements of this and that within his writing. And I said to myself, he must have actually sat down and read the same books I read as a kid, because they're older than Howard. They were done in the 1800s, right? The Lady Gregory stuff. So I was thinking to myself, to have someone create a world off of this mythology that I read as a kid and he read as a kid, it was so beautiful. And I think the Atlantean continent and the whole other world, in that sense, it's over the water. Nobody knows exactly where it is, plays into the beauty of the world that he created and the expansiveness, as you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
It's apropos of nothing, but my superhero world is a little like RJ's, in the fact that there's Lee lines, and in my world, Lee lines are dimensions colliding. So dimensions can exist in other planes of existence, rather could exist. So the Lee lines could be along the earth, under the earth, go up in the air. And if you could perceive them, perception, it's like quantum physics. Perceiving these Lee lines is what causes them to activate. And if you walk along a Lee line, you could find yourself leaving our Earth and going into other Earths and stuff. Because if you're gonna have a superhero world, you got to have alternate dimensions. But sorry, Russ. There's only one Russ Leach. There's not going to be you're unique among the multiverse, Russ.
That would be nice. Although I'd feel an incredible responsibility.
It's all on you. Oh, let me ask you then, Russ. Let's imagine that there was other versions. Would you like to sit down at a table with yourself and talk to yourself? Russ, meet Russ. Russ?
No. I'd probably find myself incredibly annoying.
Yeah, guys, I don't know how you guys watch me on the internet. I don't know how my wife even stays in the same house with me. Thank God there's only one.
I think it's good. Zach has just gone, no, Jones Longbox.
Yeah, Zach Dan says, Jones Longbox. Yeah.
Another version of
that's the Marvel Comics version of me.
The Marvel Comics version.
She's also black and a lesbian. And she don't need no man.
No, well, neither do you, God. So there is that similarity.
I can't. Well, we had a discussion, I think, about this last time when you were on talking about the Shadow Kingdom, and the serpent people that rule in the shadows of
Valorians. What were they called?
I can never remember the names off the top of my head. What is it, Russ?
They just called them the serpent. That it was just the shadow. They were just the serpent men. They weren't quite sure of them specifically. And in the Shadow Kingdom, that's where you learn of them. That's what the Shadow Kingdom is about. In fact, it's a great setup for the running story that we've put together. So it's a pity that didn't go on with Kull, but obviously he had to change it up, and come back with Conan. So they're kind of similar characters in some ways. And some people think of Kull as like a proto version of Conan, which is unfair because Kull is his own character and very, has its own unique approach to life and to the way that he does things.
I have a
And
collection
there
of all
are those differences between them.
I have a collection of all the Conan, but I don't have any Kull. And
Yeah,
Solomon Kane is his other creation. I haven't read any
that's
Solomon.
right. They're supposed to be related as well. So,
Yeah, they're all from,
Kull,
ancestors.
they're descendants. So Conan is a descendant of Kull, and Solomon Kane is a descendant of Conan, in one form or another. Direct, I'm not 100% sure about, but yeah. So they live in the same universe, but not in the same time. And when Kull was produced, I think they did a story by my axe. Is it by my axe?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
And that was the whole story first. So by this axe I rule. There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I was trying to pull it up in my mind. Thank you.
That was first Kull, and then he changed it, and it became a Conan story. So you can see the similarities, but they are different animals without a doubt.
Which, by the way, just the reason I was thinking about it is because I'm looking at this cover going Kull with an axe. You
Yes.
got spot on right there. You,
Yeah, well, at the same time, they are both fighters. They are both warriors. They just have a different focus on life. I mean, Conan is very much the rogue. He's out there for Conan, doing his thing. Kull has a focus. He wants to. He had, for instance, his raison d'être in this is to find the serpent people to cut off the head of the snake, as it were, so that they can not be involved in the world of men anymore. And that's the journey he's gone on. Whereas Conan kind of rocks up and says, are there a bunch of pirates here I can join? Eventually I'll kill their leader and lead them myself. And then I'll find a girl and a flag and a veil and plenty of gold. And that's the way he kind of runs his life. So it's a little bit more random from that perspective.
Somebody asked me a couple of months ago, and I said I don't have the answer because I'm not that familiar with Conan. But I was talking about Mary Sue's, and they said, "Oh, like Conan's a Mary Sue." Like,
no.
And it stopped me short because I didn't know. And I said, "Let me ask RJ," and then I forgot all about it until just now.
I would say absolutely not, because of the fact that he's always getting in over his head, quite honestly. But I mean, he is I always say the fact that he's a very smart individual, like tactically smart, and the fact that he can jump from one civilization to another and learn the language within like days of being there. He's an extremely smart individual as a character. But I mean, one of the things I always say, the funniest laugh I ever got out of a story was the one where I can't even remember what Conan's story was, but he's basically drunk, and the guards from the city come in, and he tries to run out the door, and he slams his head because he's so tall right against the door frame, knocks himself completely out, finds himself in a jail. Right?
Yeah, he does that kind of stuff all the time. And that's what makes him so lovable. That's why he won't kill people. He won't go around abusing the weak or the timid. He just gets on and does his thing. If you're in the way, he'll sweep you to one side, but he won't kill for the sake of it. And he has a sense of right and wrong, as it were. He has a moral code.
Agreed. I get annoyed with these people who always call him a murder hobo. I was like, no, not a chance.
No, he has a moral code, and he uses that moral code. But his moral code does include him getting what he wants a lot of the time. And he does that. And like you say, he's great. He moves from civilization to civilization. Groups like tribes and pirates. He even has another name, isn't it? Is it Amra? He goes
Amra
by
the lion
in another land. So all these things. So he's kind of like this nomadic character. But he gets himself in scrapes all the time. People, he accidentally gets away with things. He gets bunked on the head. He gets beaten in fights on occasion, or he has lucky escapes. and that's not a Mary Sue. That's a part of his character and a part of the storytelling. Is a completely different thing, and he had to fight all the way to get to where he was and be the kind of warrior rogue that he is. And it's the same with Kull. Kull left his land. He's left Atlantis in disgrace. He's been imprisoned. He's been enslaved. He's been part of pirate gangs, and he ended up taking the kingship of Valusia, and it's even hinted at that the reason he got that was because the Shadow Kingdom, the serpents, wanted him in there so that they could bump him off and replace him, and that's kind of some of the stuff that goes on in the Shadow Kingdom. So that none of this stuff comes easy. They have to work really hard at what they do. Just the difference between Kull and Conan is a difference of focus of where they're going, what they're doing, and how they get there.
And I think, quite honestly, I don't remember. To me, the story is Across the Black River, but there's so many different titles for some of the Conan ones. But it actually plays into the exact kind of thing that is perfect for comic books, if you ask me, because that story itself is very Celtic in its way that it's told, because you got Conan, he's going across the river, he runs into a bowman who's going down there to join up with the colonials, basically, because he wants to gain his fame and fortune, and you're following these two for a little while, and you think the story is about Conan, and then all of a sudden you start going towards following after this bowman who's making a final last stand because these settlers are going to get wiped away, and the rest of the story is about him. Conan doesn't even appear for the last half of the story, right? And I'm thinking, so yeah, that's another reason why he's not a Mary. So some of the stories themselves, he's not even the focus of the entire thing.
He just happens to be there. He's along for the ride.
Logic's Finest has a good comment. He says, "Why are heroes assumed to be Mary Sue?" I think because the term gets thrown out so much that, first off, any female character, if she's the main character, that it's almost like a gut reaction to call them a Mary Sue, which I don't think is fair. I mean, and then, but yes, I look at Conan. I was going to say no, but I didn't know enough to argue either way, and I didn't want to start arguing, and then somebody called me on it. But he kind of stumbles, and I always got the feeling that, like, Conan, out of every character in literature, just seems like a role-playing character. Like, when I watch Star Trek, I'm like, okay, these characters are scripted, these are actors, Captain Kirk is written to do this or whatever, even when I'm reading a Superman comic or a movie. But when I read Conan or look at the comics, I'm like, this was a story that Robert Howard was like role-playing with his buddies. Because Conan's like, I'm drinking in a bar, I meet a hot chick, I get drunk, I fall down. Next thing you know, I'm stealing treasure. Oh my God, there's a dog that I didn't notice. I dropped my axe. It sounds like a D&D story turned into a comic book.
Yeah,
I honestly think that Kull is a much more realized character than Conan, even though there are less stories about Kull.
Yeah, it's a different. He has a different approach. Like I was saying, he's a much more serious character, as in the way that he analyzes the world around him. He's also more self-doubt with Kull, because he's second guessing himself quite a lot of the time, and that's why Brawl, as a long-term companion for the story, is so great, because Brawl kind of sees through his shit sometimes. And there's also the great thing between them is you have this opportunity for a little bit of comedy between them as well. So it can lighten the story in that way, and that's I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that the whole sort of road trip buddy cop, I love things like that, because they entice you into the story. There's an interplay between the characters, and you get used to those characters, and they make you feel good. So that's part of what we wanted to do as well. I kind of pitched it to Randy as because this is something that I wanted to do. And I pitched it to Randy as kind of like a little bit like Planet of the Apes, the sci-fi series on the TV, or Logan's Run or something like that, where each episode was its own story, but you had this long arc to follow, and you were basically following Kull and Brawl around the Thurian age, trying to find the serpent people, and occasionally getting clues along the way and getting closer and closer all the time.
I think that Brawl is actually a character that I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think they adapted him into the Conan the Barbarian stories in Marvel in the 70s as Zula.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because it worked. And they had, I do believe they had in some of the in the Kull stories they had Brawl. They portrayed him. I mean, there was one portrayed him almost like an American Indian.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
the story that I was just talking about. That whole thing is like settlers on the American plains. That Conan story. So he does bring in these Western elements to them as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, we've portrayed him as slightly darker than that. The Pictish Isles, we've given them sort of a darker skin, and gone for sort of like an island nation kind of thing. And that's the way that we're depicting him. He was actually described as being darker of skin. So that's what we've decided to do. But there's been several representations. I've noticed recently in this the new Conan comic from Titan. They've been drawn. I saw them do a crossover where there was some time travel, and Conan and Kull, and I think Brawl was in there as well. But they all looked very, very similar. They all look very Caucasian and very similar. So I think it depends on where you get your description from. We went obviously back to the source for our description.
Are you a fan of like the Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melnibone and that type of
Elric? I read a couple of those when I was a kid, which I probably shouldn't have done. It's a bit spicy in places. But I am aware of Elric. I think we did an Elric book a little while ago on Comics by Night. There was a graphic novel representation of Elric, which was quite crazy, actually.
Yeah, talk that he wrote those in the 60s. You could definitely tell there was a lot of hippie inspired, like the whole. And I think the we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons earlier, but that whole law versus chaos that became like a cornerstone of D&D came from Elric. But you didn't really have any of that in Conan. Like, forgive me for not knowing, but like what was like the major like theological cosmic overdrives in like Elric had law versus chaos, and then Lovecraft had this cosmic indifference. Was like we know Crom was the god, but was there any sort of like heavenly battles that Conan was champion?
I think mostly it was left open for any magic to enter in. I mean, Conan is very wary of any magic.
Yeah, he doesn't like magic.
He doesn't like it. Very, very wary. Kull is aware of maybe a little bit more. But I don't think there's, as far as the way I read it, I don't think there's an underlying status quo of like earth and magic or earth and heavenly realm. I think there seems to be an awful lot of different gods that people worship within the Thurian and the Hyborian age, and there's a whole bunch of magic there.
But the gods don't seem to make any.
No, the gods don't seem to give us stuff.
Yeah, they don't really show up, and
they don't show up. No.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of fantastic things that do.
Plenty of devils that show up.
Yeah. But they all seem to be encapsulated.
Yes.
You see what I mean? They're their own thing. They don't necessarily all relate. And something that was in the Shadow Kingdom was a reference to the old tales of how humanity managed to fight its way through the darkness of all the beasts that were out there. And there's still some of them wandering around in the Thurian age. And that's kind of, and obviously some even managed to last into the Hyborian age as well. And that's where you that's where you get your darkness. That's where you get your genes, your jinns and monsters and devils and or witches or whatever, all kinds of stuff, vampires. You can. He kind of was able to fill it with all kinds of stuff.
That's one of the things that when I was doing my book for Crown the Destroyer, I placed it, several thousand years basically after the time of Conan, because I wanted to have a fresh start and to have a new character as if, was sort of connected in a way that, lived in a world similar. But the fact I did mix in a little bit of, let's say, Herculean myth as well, because I love the idea of coming into a world. Let's say for Hercules, he was cleaning up the last of the monsters, right? So let's move in time, a couple of thousand years and have a little bit more monsters. Nothing that's going to be a civilization, but enough so that there's going to be a lot more weary traveling all over the world, because you got to watch out for spots of these things. So that's one of the things I love about that kind of world, going into a prehistory that we don't know about.
Yeah, it's fertile land, isn't it, for you to make stuff up and have fun with, and that's another driving force behind this is like the books we picked up when we were kids, or when I was a kid anyway. I just want to have fun with this. I want people to enjoy it while they're reading it, and just like those TV series when we were kids, or the comics, they don't have to tell a specific tale. They can take you on a journey. They can take you different places. They can do something wacky one month. And you can just enjoy the comic for what it is, which is entertainment. It's not
John, to answer John's question, I would say if there wasn't really an overarching idea for my mind, so much as a religious idea, but the overarching idea I think that Howard had in the back of his mind was evolution. And that's how everything plays out, especially in Conan, because you have these things that are evolving and de-evolving at the same time and creating monsters and things to overcome.
Yeah. Something else you notice as well. There's an awful lot of he bumps into a lot of decaying cities.
Yes.
And scenarios where it's like
with
these
the death
things
of Leach.
and what
a little
what
bit
happened.
of Conan that I've read, it seemed like civilization versus the barbarian seems to be a theme.
There is that clash of culture, and clash of it's the freedom of the barbarian. I think that's what Howard was exploring.
Yeah, I think he seemed
freedom
almost
of
pro
man.
barbarian, right?
Yeah, definitely pro barbarian. Yeah. So
And
that's what you want. It's more fun, to be honest, to write stories like that.
Well, did you say like the barbarian world is polite because you're not going to insult when somebody could just smash you in the face or something?
There is a quote for that. The civilized man, wouldn't last because in a barbarian world, you just get taken out. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's along those lines.
But that's it. That's the exact storyline of across the Black River, because the whole point is that these civilizations are basically France. They're pushing into what is essentially Northern Africa, although they're describing it in a way that it's almost the American West. But Conan comes to the realization that you guys are just too soft. You're going to get wiped out. And then they're going to come across the mountains, just like they came across the mountains. The Picts came across the mountains to Samaria and wiped his entire, village out, or, villages around him out. And to his mind, the barbarian hordes will always win in the end. That's Conan's, his mindset. Although, even though he has that mindset, yet he sets himself up as what is basically essentially a king of France, and saying, I'm going to push humanity to its edge so that they will survive as long as possible. And the civilized part of it as well, because he knows barbarism and he knows how to counter it.
Yeah, definitely.
What about, I know RJ, you're not a big fan of this, but like, was it the Temple of the Elephant where you see Conan is learning about like spaceships and ancient civilizations and starfaring? How do you guys feel that in Conan's world?
I think for Howard, he just threw everything at the wall and see what would stick. Quite honestly.
Yes, definitely. That's exactly what he did. Yeah. Again, I think you can get away with it. I mean, the way that I really love that story.
I do. I like that story too.
Yeah, and I know it's been redone a few times, but I do love the original version of it. I think it was Alcala and Buscema that drew it.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a beautiful rendition. There's some of the expressions on Conan's face in that is fantastic. There's so much acting going on. And it didn't, I have to say, while I was reading it, and I was quite young while I was reading it, it didn't it didn't faze me that they were effectively saying these things were aliens and traveling from another star. It kind of didn't mix it. I didn't think, oh, this is science fiction, this is fantasy, and it's mixing it up. It didn't even occur to me. It was just it just worked, and it obviously it's quite a it's quite a sad story, actually. I think that's what I got from it. It was a very sad story. It was a sad indictment of the way that the creature was treated.
Yeah, it was.
You know, it was it was quite an empathic piece, and I just loved it. I just thought it was great.
I find that story sets Conan in a world that is so much, again, more expansive than what you would get with normal science fiction or fantasy today, because they focus on one or the other. But here you have one story where it's definitely something that's science fiction going on. And then you have my favorite story, which is the Scarlet Citadel, which is him basically going downwards to try to get out of this maze. And he's basically going into hell. I mean, he's going further and further down. He's going into hell. He's like, I got to turn around because there's no out to this place. You're just going to go into evil deeper and deeper. To have that much fantasy on one side and science fiction on the other, and to have them both in the same world with the same character, that is an expansive world that's beyond Star Trek or Star Wars or any of these things that you would see, because they limit themselves to science fiction. There's no fantasy, right? Things like that.
I mean, a lot of the time, you write science fiction, and within the science fiction there is no God. Okay, because it's science fiction. It's all nuts and bolts. The universe is a big clock. Okay, there is, and so it restricts you. It restricts your ability to write something more expansive. Whereas Howard was fluid. It just opened up and you look at the Cthulhu stuff. That's similar in its expansive nature. That's cosmic and horrific, and that's just it's the same kind of thing. Apparently Howard and who's the guy that wrote Cthulhu? Lovecraft. Apparently they were friends.
They wrote. Lovecraft called Howard Two-Fisted Howard. That was his nickname for him.
Two-Fisted Howard. He was a bit of a fighter in real life, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a fighter in real life, and then when his mom died, he killed himself. So he was like, he's like a paradox himself,
an intense man.
I wonder if if he was a mama's boy, and then people would call him a mama's boy, so he would get all mad and start fighting, like to cover up the fact that he was a mom.
Possibly, but it's that expansive nature that's special. You don't get it in everything. But I mean, if you look at Tolkien's work, okay, it didn't touch on anything science fiction, although there was some mechanical aspects. If you think about
if you look at the dragons and things like that, arrived in the Silmarillion. They're tanks basically.
Yeah, and then if you look at in Lord of the Rings, you've got the High Tower with the white. What's it? The white Saruman the White, and the fact that there was a lot of mechanical aspects to what he was doing,
right,
with the orcs there as well. So although not science fiction, it's like it wasn't just pure magic and
Saruman,
old world stuff. It had
all the bad guys were artificers. Sauron was when he was a good guy. Back in his early days, he was an apprentice to Alway, the Smith god, and
Yeah.
Saruman was also an apprentice to the Smith god, and then all the bad guys were into machines and everything, and then Numenor, according to Christopher Tolkien, there's a lot of notes that were cut out, but Numenor, the island that was created by God for the good humans, they say that in some of Lovecraft's drafts there was actually steampunk. They had flying machines that were like orthodopters, and but it's not in any books. It was cut out. So
right.
But Christopher Tolkien is the one who cut all this out. So was this supposed to be, and everywhere the Numenorians went, they depopulated the forests or deforested the everything to build smiths and machines.
Right.
And they're the ones who built Saruman's tower using engineering marvels that weren't quite magic, because they didn't have access to magic. They had engineering.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, just looking into different aspects of Tolkien, you can see how expansive he was as well. And it's that letting loose. It's if you let yourself go and say, okay, like everything's on the table, and if you just do science fiction from that nuts and bolts perspective, it limits you.
I honestly think the fact that he did end up the way that he did after his mother died is one of the keys to understanding how he wrote and why he wrote like he did, is because of the fact that, quite honestly, he had such a small world. I would think that what you're looking at on the page is his way of trying to explore the world. And like he couldn't get out from where he was, and he was there for one reason or another, whether it was by choice or by some other means. And he just, had to explore somehow. And that's what you see on the page. And that's why there's no limitations for so many things, because he wanted to explore parts of himself and ideas that were just all over the place, like everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
We seem to have lost John. He might have taken off, or he might have just lost his signal. I'm not entirely sure, but I wanted to talk a little bit more because we're coming up to the end of this hour. I want to talk a little bit more about the Atlantean so everybody knows what's going on here. Russ, this is opening up on your website on this Friday, where you can order the book, and we'll be shipping fairly soon after the ordering. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if you go to my website, sign up for the email list, I'll let everybody know when the campaign is available. It should be up on Friday evening. It will run for a month, just over a month, and then if I'm effectively 10 pages away from finishing the inks on this, so it's done for all intents and purposes, and it'll go to print as soon as the campaign finishes. And
it is a floppy, right? Well, how many pages is it?
It's a 48 page with a cover. So I think it's like 46 pages of strip. You've always got some editorial and what have you in there, but it's chock full. There's no ads or anything like that, and it's at $15. So it's a reasonably good value, I think. I can't take any lower than that. But the aim is that we get readership. So the bigger the readership, it means that we can take the price down. That's what we'd really like to do.
That's a good way to put it. I want to start promoting this book on my Twitter, just because I love your idea, and we need more of this kind of thing. People who are willing, because you have the experience, obviously, but people who are willing to do continuous books so that you build readership and build a base of customers that, because rising tide just rises all boats, right?
That's the way that I saw it. I mean, I've obviously done the two Only Death Can Save Us books, and there's still a third book in that series to be done. I have the story for it. It's just that I've got involved in this now, and there's only one of me. Maybe I need to go and get those multiverse versions. But I wanted to do the Shadow Kingdom, and then it led to this. And the way I see it is, the comic book industry is in huge turmoil at the moment. It's all over the place, and the thing that you really, really need is consistency.
Agreed.
People want you to be there. They want to know they can read it. Now, I can't bring a book out once a month because I just don't have the I can't do it that quick. We just can't do it that quickly. But I can bring a book out 3 to 4 times a year. And I can make it 46, 47 pages of strip with a self-contained story that has a large arc, which means that people can think, yeah, okay, I can get into that. It's not too long between each book that I can get into it. They're not too big that they cost you an arm and a leg every time you buy one. So that's the idea. The idea is consistency and quality, and get a book in people's hands that they can really enjoy. And then at some point, if this does work, which I really do hope it does, I'd like to get it to, like, we do the first 4, which will be, nearly 200 pages. And then you can do some kind of omnibus of the book and have that out for people as well. So that's the idea: consistency and quality, and just get good stories out there, because that's what the comic book industry needs. You're doing it, John's doing it, great books coming out. And there are other people like Aaron Sparrow has. I think he's working with Renzo.
Yep.
Who's a great artist who's really been doing the rounds over the last 5-6 years, and his work has exponentially got better and better over time. Aaron's doing a great book, and he's actually the executive editor on this book.
Oh, cool!
So,
Aaron's a great guy.
Yeah, Aaron is great. He does so much good stuff. I really enjoy listening to him. I also go over and watch Thinking Critical, which I've watched since
Wes, yeah.
Yeah, Wes, since he started his channel, I've been listening to Wes. And I think he's great because he tells it like it is. And Aaron's really good at what he does. I'm really pleased to see him come up with his own concept now as well and get a book out there. And that's what we need. We need people like that are going to consistently come up with good stuff because they love what they do.
Damn straight.
That's what I'm doing. I love what I do, and this is what I want to do. And consistency and quality is at the heart of it.
Well, Russ, I honestly think we're going to leave it there. That is a way to top off this live stream. Thank you very much for putting it so eloquently.
Thanks for having me on. I just I'm hopefully gonna be on a few more shows. As you know, that's the trail of the crowdfunder.
Yep.
Thank you very much for having me on.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. We had a late stream. I mean, it was a long stream. It's almost 2 hours, much longer than I usually go. But I wanted to cover this book because what Russ is doing with these Kull stories, I think, as he just said, is something we need for the future. This kind of science fiction and fantasy, I think, is desperately needed, quite honestly, Russ, for the new generation.
RJ's got me looking forward to this. This is the kind of stuff 10 years ago I wasn't interested in. Now I'm like, where's more Conan?
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. And once again, thank you very much, everybody, for showing up. And I want to thank Russ for being patient and waiting so long when I was in the wrong screen, and for John for staying for 2 hours. Thank you very much to everyone. And we will leave it at that. And I'll just say good night.
Das wird Anja.
Me?